80 and on your smart speaker. Nice. I never had the Steelers number one on my power rankings.
Max in his basement, of course. No one can hear him. Got some technical difficulties. He's working through. Of course, this is the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. Now you see a little teaser from Max. You see why he didn't have the Steelers number one on his power rankings? Now do you see?
About Carson Wentz on air the other day.
You can reach Max at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776.
On Monday, we did our first take, but it wasn't Carson
Wentz. The show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join Max.
But it wasn't Wentz. So, like, right now,
Pennzoil Performance
Dan and I
Line.
get to go on it.
How are we looking back there, Bubba? And
on the Max Kellerman Show on
Max looking? We good?
Radio.
Well, you know what? Actually, Max.
This is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, at SiriusXM Channel 80 and on your smart speaker. Nice. I never had the Steelers number one on my power rankings.
Max in his basement, of course. No one can hear him. Got some technical difficulties. He's working through. Of course, this is the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. Now you see a little teaser from Max. You see why he didn't have the Steelers number one on his power rankings? Now do you see?
About Carson Wentz on air the other day.
You can reach Max at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776.
On Monday, I forgot what topic we did on first take, but it wasn't Carson Wentz.
The show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join Max.
But it wasn't Wentz. So, like, right now,
Pennzoil Performance
Dan and I
Line.
get to go on it.
How are we looking back there, Bubba? And
on the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN
good?
Radio.
Well, you know what? Actually, Max is talking. He doesn't know that he's not on the air right now, so we are working on that as we speak.
ESPN Nation
presented by
Dr.
talking
Pepper.
away. You can see him just going and going. He's saying all this stuff.
College football town, Fansville.
Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line, 1-888-SAY-ESPN. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper.
Brought to you
it's official.
By Straight Talk Wireless.
College football's back, and so is your favorite
Eagles
Dr.
and Carson
Pepper
Wentz and Peterson's decision and Dan Orlovsky. Tim McMahon and Adrian Wojnarowski report, ESPN's very own, of course, that James Harden has indicated to the Houston Rockets before the beginning of training camp that he would be open to a trade to the Philadelphia 76ers or possibly other contenders, sources told ESPN. The question is this James Harden, as Stephen A. Smith suggested today on the air, is this James Harden kind of trying to smooth things out? Because if he only has one destination, the Brooklyn Nets, that makes it more difficult to do a deal. Or is this James Harden and the Houston Rockets kind of back-channeling and the Rockets telling him, look, James, if you do this, if you make public that Brooklyn is the only place you'll go to, you're handcuffing us. We can't, like, you want to trade out of town, we can't do it, and we can't do it to Brooklyn either because there'll be no other bidders. We're not even going to get their best deal. So, you know, like, and therefore now they're making this public through the media. Or, in fact, has James Harden realized that he has got to get out of Houston? Whether it's Brooklyn or somewhere else, doesn't matter as long as he has a shot. The Philadelphia 76ers certainly give him a shot. But more than that, the reality is, if you're trading James Harden, you are going to lose the deal. There's almost no way you can win that trade because the history of the NBA is the team that gets the best player in the deal wins the deal. How are you going to get a better player than James Harden? If you had some team with a treasure trove of high picks, that's one thing. But if that's a treasure trove of high picks, it means it's not a very good team. Why would James Harden want to go there? And if it is a good team, those picks wouldn't be worth much, right? Even if they're not lottery protected. So the point is, Philadelphia makes a lot of sense. Because Ben Simmons, Raj, I got you right in my ear, thank you very much. Because Ben Simmons is the only player on the Nets or the Sixers, let's limit it to those two teams for a second, because realistically, that's where Harden is probably heading, right? To Daryl Morey, his old GM, who identified Harden as a superstar when people just thought he was a nice player and traded him for peanuts, got him for peanuts, rather, and then got him a coach who even elevated his star status beyond where Harden already was. Or the Nets with Kyrie and KD, which is a super team very, very likely to at least get out of the Eastern Conference their first year together. Philadelphia makes sense. Ben Simmons is a great player already. And if you get Simmons back in a deal for James Harden, that is not the same thing as Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie, nice players, above average starters, but maybe not really actually all-stars, really. And, on a good year, maybe they make an all-star team. But you get a couple of those guys and a couple of draft picks for James Harden, it's not enough. Ben Simmons, straight up for James Harden, is enough because Simmons is considerably younger and is a truly great player. I mean, I know he doesn't shoot. He'd be an MVP player if he shot. But he's created more open looks for three than anyone since he's gotten in the league. And he was the best defender in basketball last season before he got hurt. 6'10", a basketball IQ and court vision like a poor man's LeBron James. And by the way, better handles, maybe not so poor. A lower middle class man's LeBron James. And so, if Harden is serious, Philadelphia is an excellent destination. And by the way, Harden and Embiid, what I love so much about that combination is Daryl Morey starts with a big, the likes of which he could not attract to the Houston Rockets. A talent in Embiid that you can't just acquire if you don't already have a guy like that on your roster. Morey did an amazing job getting Harden to Houston and building a team and a system with D'Antoni that got a team that didn't have enough talent, really, very, very close to winning a championship. Because had they gotten by the Warriors pretty clearly, I think they would have won the title. But in Philadelphia, Harden, were he to win a ring, that ring would not be discounted the way it would be in Brooklyn. I mean, it's great if he and KD and Kyrie could do it. It'd be great and everything. But people would certainly point to the fact, like, James, you joined KD and Kyrie Irving. Yeah, two MVP players and a guy who's more than just an all-star is supposed to win a ring eventually. But in Philly, that would be different. Not an easy choice for Harden. In Philly, he's not joining a team that's already on the verge of being a super team or anything like that. It's not an easy choice for Harden because the Brooklyn Nets, if the borough of Brooklyn wins a championship for the first time since the Dodgers left, since 1955, but the Dodgers left in 57. If the city of New York wins a basketball championship for the first time since 76, ABA, the Nets, but in the NBA since 73 with the Knicks, that's the hottest ticket in the world in sports. What would courtside seats go for there? The Nets would be the sexiest franchise in worldwide sports if he could do that. So I get the attraction. And with KD and Kyrie, you would think that could happen. Although we got to get into Kyrie in a little while, too. But in Philly, it's not such a slam dunk, so to speak. In Philly, he and Embiid will have had to have worked for it together in a way where going in, you don't look at the roster and go, oh, yeah, they're a shoo-in. You go, if Harden rises to the occasion, they could get it done. And he would have a legitimate chance to rise to the occasion. Not like in Houston, where it's like Morey did a good enough job of putting maybe enough talent around him to compete. But when you looked at the Golden State Warriors, you go, come on, man. KD and Steph and Clay and Dre and Iggy, it's too much. Who's Harden have? An injured Chris Paul and Trevor Ariza and a couple guys? It's not enough. Wouldn't be that in Philly. He'd have another star with him, maybe a superstar in Embiid. And yeah, Tobias Harris is overpaid, but he can play. And Seth Curry can shoot the lights out, and Danny Green can 3-and-D. You know, suddenly Harden would have a legit shot on a team where it wouldn't kind of be discounted in the public's imagination were they to win. That was straight talk. Everything for less, only at Walmart. Meantime, boy, the stuff Kyrie got into. Kyrie. It's like The Odd Couple. Oscar. Kyrie. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Meantime, the Steelers blow a lead to Washington, and they lose their unbeaten record last night. They were up 14-0 shortly before the half. They went on to lose 23-17. It's the first loss of the season, and it was also the second largest blown lead for a Steelers team at home in franchise history. And I know you've seen the stats by now, but just to refresh your memory, 109 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie when leading by 14 points at any point since drafting Roethlisberger in 2004. 109, 2-1, went up 2 touchdowns at any point in the game. But recall, Monday afternoon's game was originally scheduled for Sunday, moved back due to last week's game against the Ravens getting pushed to Wednesday. Now think about this. The Steelers got to get run blocking. They have to get, as Casey Joyner, the football scientist, will tell you on this show, and has told us many times on this show, great run blocking, an average running back gets 7 yards. A great one will get 10. Bad run blocking, a great back will get 2 or 3 yards. So when you see 14 carries for 21 yards, it's bad run blocking. That's not like if they had Le'Veon Bell. No, that's bad run blocking. And if the Steelers get that kind of play from their offensive line, they ain't going to do much. However, let's keep in mind, this Steelers team was playing on 4 days rest and playing their 3rd game in 13 days. And they're coming off a win against the Ravens. You know, the best time, as Ryan Clark says, to play the Steelers or Ravens is after they play each other. So you have that, the emotional high of the Ravens, a letdown afterwards. 3 games in 13 days and 4 days rest heading in to face an underrated Washington team and an underrated Washington defense. The Washington franchise and the New York Giants are the teams in the NFC East who were going in with the lowest expectations, but the culture change on top with the coaches. Joe Judge has done an excellent job. Ron Rivera is a respected coach throughout the league, and he has a track record to back it up. The culture changes in Washington and New York have those teams in first place in the worst division in football. Nevertheless, Washington was being a little slept on. So it had all the trappings of a trap game, which I thought the Steelers could avoid because of the way Tomlin chewed them out after the Ravens game. But in the end, couldn't avoid it, even though they were up 2 touchdowns. And it was Alex Smith, former first pick overall in the NFL draft. Alex Smith making a play at the end of the game, toward the end of the game at least. Mike Tomlin, after the game, on how the adversity of this first loss may be good for the Steelers.
Different points along the journey, you get a chance to learn about yourself, who you are, what you're made of, individually and collectively, and it takes the journey to reveal that. And so, you know, we're faced with a loss now, so we'll get an opportunity to smile in the face of it.
Yeah. Stephen A. was trying to argue on the air today that it would be a good thing for the Steelers to kind of get the loss out of the way It stinks. There's no way to say. Come on, there was an undefeated team in Week 13. You know, the Miami Dolphins pop champagne, the 72 Dolphins again. Right? You saw it on SportsCenter this morning. No, it would have been great if the Steelers could have gone undefeated, of course. But they're not, like, if you look at undefeated teams, I remember the Giants were undefeated 10-0. The year they lost, they got destroyed by the Ravens in the Super Bowl, 2000. And one of the all-time great defenses, that Baltimore team. And you knew the Giants were good, but you were looking at, this ain't going to be an undefeated season for the Giants. They ain't that good. And the same thing with the Steelers. The Steelers were doing a little bit with smoke and mirrors. And they can play defense. Even when they're not great, they're good defensively. But if you can't run the ball, you're going to be in trouble. And Ben Roethlisberger is having an amazing year for a guy who is, 38 years old, coming off catastrophic injury. But in recent weeks, he has not looked as good as he did, a month ago. Meantime, you know who did look as good as they did a month ago? Or at least to start the season, remember when he was really hot? Is Josh Allen. That dude might have the biggest, Mahomes. But Josh Allen's there with Mahomes in terms of the biggest arm in the game. And they dominated a Niners team that, coming off a win against L.A., against the Rams team. The Niners team can play defense. They snapped, by the way. A lot is being made of this. The Bills snapped their Monday Night Football winless streak because they'd lost their previous 7 games on Monday Night Football before last night, 34-24. Cole Beasley set a career-high 130 yards. But Josh Allen was great. He was great. 32 of 40, 375 yards, 4 TDs. And that's who the Steelers got coming up. Roethlisberger and Josh Allen trending in different directions. Big, strong, big-armed quarterbacks, but one dude is 38 and one dude is 24. Here's Richard Sherman after the game on the game he saw Josh Allen play.
He made some plays. You got to give him credit. He was in good control of the game. He didn't pass up any easy looks. He didn't take any risky throws. The D-line was doing everything they could and put a lot of pressure on him, but he did a great job of evading, and extending plays. And you extend plays for, 4 or 5 seconds, then, the coverage usually breaks down regardless of what you're in. So you got to give him credit, man. He played a freaking fantastic game.
Yeah, you got to give Josh Allen credit. But how much credit do you give him? Yeah, he's mobile with a big arm. And by the way, I doubted Josh Allen and Mitch Trubisky and, well, for that matter, Carson Wentz in the very beginning, and then again more recently, and Lamar Jackson. Like all those kind of mobile quarterbacks. Whenever I hear the first thing about a quarterback is how fast he is, like you can see Mitch Trubisky early on. Wow, he's outrunning linebackers, but can he throw it down the field? No, not in Trubisky's case. In Carson Wentz's case, yes, and now no, right? But he did it consistently, the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, we'll see. I suspect Lamar is suffering the effects of COVID, maybe even before he was officially diagnosed. Because that has like an incubation period or whatever, that's over a week. You can have COVID and not show symptoms in an obvious way for a while. And I noticed that with Cam, too. The week before he was diagnosed, he didn't look great. So I wonder how much of that is affecting Lamar Jackson. But Lamar has yet to establish himself as consistently elite, although obviously the MVP of the league was elite last year. Josh Allen's an elite quarterback right now. He's an elite quarterback. You got to give it to him. His rookie year, he's 22 years old. The team has a losing record. And he throws a touchdown, an interception for every touchdown. In fact, more. It's like 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, something like that. And he completed around 50% of his passes. The next year, he's 23 years old. Now it's year 2. This is where the development happens. Instead of 50% of his passes, he's completing around 60% of his passes. Instead of essentially a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, it's a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And they win 10 games. Now he's in his 3rd year. He's 24 years old. His completion percentage ain't 50% like his rookie year, 60% like last year. It's 70% now. His TD to interception ratio ain't 1-to-1 like his rookie year, ain't 2-to-1 like it was last year. It's 3-to-1 now. And he's headed, it looks, not just for 10 wins. And, thanks for trying, thanks for playing, but for more wins than that and playoff success. A lot of when you talk about who's elite comes down to the trajectory of their career and what you can reasonably look forward to. Like Josh Allen hasn't done it in a way where he is now on this level forever, but who really has? We judge these guys week to week, season to season. There were questions about Aaron Rodgers, who before I saw Patrick Mahomes, I thought Aaron Rodgers is the best I've ever seen. Is he still elite after last season? The answer this season is yes. So this is always in flux. We're constantly evaluating and reevaluating. Josh, but when you have a 24-year-old quarterback who every season so far has increased his completion percentage by 10%, and who's now a top 5 QBR in the league because he's 6 technically, but that's because Dak Prescott's in the top 5, who basically hasn't played all year, played a couple games early. So it means he's among active quarterbacks. Josh Allen's top 5 QBR. Passer rating, you can see it is basically 106. So at 24, do you suspect he's going to get better or worse? Or forget about even getting better. Let's say he just stays like this. How many quarterbacks in the AFC would you take before Josh Allen? Patrick Mahomes 1, and then Josh Allen's in the conversation. I'd put him 3. I'd say Mahomes 1, Deshaun Watson 2, and Josh Allen 3. But even picking Deshaun Watson 2, if you'd have asked me 5 weeks ago, is Deshaun Watson 2, I probably would have said no. The way he's played the last month, you got to say yes. These guys are young. Each game is a piece of evidence that takes up a disproportional kind of amount of their career. So when Deshaun Watson puts a month together like he did, it's like, okay, that really does increase, especially at his age. He's still ascending. He's great. Josh Allen, too. Josh Allen, too. That looks like a great young quarterback to me. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Get your quote at progressive.com. Today, Doug Peterson has made a decision at the starting quarterback spot, as I told you. Did he make the right choice? Finally, Dan Orlovsky and I get to really chop this up. I'm going to chop him up. You know what's not healthy? Stressing about work. Or maybe your Ohio State football game called off due to COVID-19 cases with the Wolverines. We're going to take your calls on that later. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 729-3776. Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Now, as a member of the media, you're aware that you actually do have influence, not only on sometimes the way fans think or what subjects are discussed, but sometimes on teams themselves, on decisions they make. And my next guest, is he great at breaking down NFL tape? If he wants to be a coach one day, it could be in his future, I think. But boy, did you have to hold that L, Dan Orlovsky, on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line about Carson Wentz. And in fact, Dan, you, as his biggest booster in the media, you stayed with him through thick and thin, and it kept getting thinner and thinner. And eventually, you finally said, okay, fine, he's no good. And no lie, Dan, I don't think it's an accident. You came out and said that, and that week, Coach benches him. He took him out of the game. Not a coincidence, Dan. However, Dan, Coach just named Hurts his starting quarterback. Your thoughts?
I am honored and humbled that you think I have that much influence. It means a lot to me. I don't think that I have that much influence. All right, so I'm going to be dead honest here and have a real conversation instead of just going back and forth. This decision had to be made. The reasons for this decision, everybody in Philadelphia has their hands in. Everybody in Philadelphia has their hands in why this came to be the situation that it's in right now. That being said, Carson Wentz opened this door with poor play. He's had very few highs and way too many lows this season. So his play gave the organization we had no other choice but to make this move, essentially like an ultimatum, right? Because he wasn't playing good football. Jalen Hurts has got his hands full because this is a bad team and beat-up offense, and obviously going to play against the Saints, which is one of the best defenses in football, the best secondary in football right now. What does it mean long term? Like, that's where my mind goes for Carson Wentz, because I don't think there's any chance that he's not in Philly next year because of the money. I don't think that there is. I could be dead wrong on that. So, yeah.
No, I think you're right. They're not going to find a sucker to take him.
I think of, okay, what does Carson Wentz need to do? Number one, he needs to figure out why this happened. He needs to stare himself in the mirror and ask the question, okay, Carson, why did this happen? What do I have to do to make sure that this never happens again? He has to take accountability for it. He has to be honest and transparent with it. Then the next step is to figure out as an organization, is it Wentz? Is it Doug Peterson? I don't think it can be both next year. I don't think, because I don't think the player will trust the coach. I don't, the player getting.
But wait a minute, Dan, hold on. Let's step back before you get on to trust. See, I have a problem with what you just said, because let's start with this. There are a bunch of facts, right? And then you interpret the facts a certain way. I saw him regressing. Last year. I saw a continuation of it this year. Did it have partly to do with receivers dropping balls and not having this and not having that? Yeah, probably. But a lot of it, I think, also had to do with the coach, who was not free to choose his own staff, by the way, right? Who was a little shook to do what it would take to get Carson Wentz to buy in, because Carson Wentz has enormous power in the organization. There is a writer, Joe Santaloquido, out of Philly, who did a piece on Wentz and talked about some of these problems in the piece a couple of years ago. And, of course, the Eagles tried to squash him, right? And by the way, if anything, that shows you how much influence Wentz has. But like, these problems you could see developing over time. It's not just like it happened out of nowhere. Wentz was believing his own press clippings. He was told by Dan Orlovsky how great he was every week, in spite of the fact that frequently he wasn't. And Dan, even the thing about Jalen Hurts, they drafted a quarterback in the second round. Like, it's interesting. They were playing the Packers yesterday. Packers also drafted a quarterback, actually in the first round, to replace Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest of all time. And, think about how that went down. Instead of getting him weapons, Rodgers just balled. The Eagles draft a quarterback in the second round to back up Carson Wentz, or to eventually take his job, because they saw him going in a different direction. Wentz is getting the 12th best pass blocking in the league from his offensive line, the 4th best run blocking.
Like, watch the tape.
Still can't do anything with it.
Come on, man. Like, what? You're watching the same game as me. We can't sit here and tell anyone that the offensive line is good. Like, just because
it's better than average.
A stat that says that their pass block win rate is X because they're going off a percentage of how many blocks they hold at 2.5 seconds, and some of their offense is catch and throw. So that means that's a win for the offense. It doesn't mean that they're pass blocking well. Yeah. So, like, sometimes those numbers are skewed.
Are they less than average? They're not less than average.
The Eagles' offensive line is not less than average, Max. Everybody is out. They don't have a single. So you mean their backups? You mean their backups, and then their backups are average NFL starters? Stop.
But but here's the they're playing like average NFL starters. But here's the problem. Dan, they drafted a quarterback.
So you can't use the Aaron
they drafted a quarterback in the second round.
Aaron Rodgers is one of the 10 best ever, certainly one of the best talents ever. You don't think he's got a little bit more mental maturity and emotional maturity to handle that? He's in his 15th year, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Carson Wentz is going into his 5th year. I'm not saying that you don't want him to be more mentally mature and emotionally tougher, but you can't use Rodgers as the comparison because they're completely different accomplishments. Second of all, I don't understand how you can point consistently back to last year ago, a guy who threw.
Because that's when the trend started.
He threw for. We've had this conversation.
But wait, Dan. Of all people, this is why I'm really shocked
because
that we argue
NFL,
about
Max,
this, because you pay very close attention.
The NFL.
But you pay close attention, so you had to. If I saw regression, you had to see it too. You're just ascribing it to different things. But I saw it, and 10 times more football than me, so you had to have seen him regressing, and then it continued this year.
But Max,
Dan, let me tell you why you have to
sit Wentz conversation for 3 years about Wentz. Like that, it didn't just start last year.
No. Listen, he has been in terms of charting his progress.
Right, so,
he was not as good his second year as his first year, etc.
November 19, you started talking about Carson Wentz regressing. You've been saying that since 2018.
Oh yeah. No. Last year in the second half is really when I got on him, Dan. Like, that's really when I got on him. Like, I was shocked at how poorly he was playing and how much praise he was getting. But let me tell you why I think you have to sit him down. I think you have to sit him down now for the rest of this season. Because if you're the Eagles, you're going to have a very high draft pick. You have to see if Jalen Hurts, like Carson Wentz ain't your quarterback. He's going to be on the team because of his contract, but he's not going to be your quarterback. He'll never be great again. I don't believe you ever will be. I think he's beyond repair. Time will tell. But you got to see if Jalen Hurts, the second-round pick you spent on Jalen Hurts instead of trading for DeAndre Hopkins, instead of going to trade up and getting CD Lamb, the second-round pick you spent on Hurts, you got to see if you got to draft another quarterback right now with this top 5 or 6 pick you're likely to get. You got to find out about Hurts. You got to do it now, Dan.
So this is where, I had this conversation with our NFL Live crew before the show today, getting prepped, because, Marcus said, I don't think this has anything to do with next year. And I was like, it absolutely has a ton to do with next year because, all right, I don't think this is likely, Max, but, like, what happens if Jalen Hurts over the next 4 weeks plays good football, plays, like, pretty darn good football, and they go on a run of turnovers or something, they win a couple games, and then they win the NFC East. Now you got a huge problem because this would be the second time in 3 years, no matter how highly I think of Carson Wentz's talent, that a quarterback outside of Carson Wentz has led the team on the last month to a playoff run. It'd be Foles 2 years ago and then Hurts this year. But you owe him $55 million next year.
Remember a month ago when I said bench him to hold him accountable and no, you shouldn't bench him, and now this is what happened. I said like 6 weeks ago, trade him for Nick Foles, not because Foles could do any better with this team.
But that wasn't going to happen.
I don't think.
Those were like, that's like saying,
hey,
my point is, I'll give you $1 million.
You got to find a sucker to take the contract. But 6 weeks ago, when Dan Orlovsky was still saying, no, he's still good, it's just X, Y, and Z, maybe you could get the Bears or someone to bite. Now that you are saying, no, this isn't good, I don't think you'll get anyone to take him.
I'm not saying that. I've been adamant. I still believe in Carson Wentz as a talent. There's no question asked. I can't speak to his, like, where he stands with his mental and emotional security and strength. I can't speak to that. I can't tell you there's no shot he won't be broken over this mentally. I just know the talent is 100% still there, and you can't coach talent.
Oh, I can see that from time to time. I can see arm talent, but it's just not consistent. But he can do amazing things once a game.
The coaching pulls that out. Like, the coaching demands that, gets that, and you can tell me he's got too much power. He obviously doesn't have that much power because in a matter of a year they drafted a kid in the second round and got benched. So he can't be that powerful.
I'm telling you, he's quite powerful, Dan. I'm telling you, the media is not giving him cover anymore, and the play is so poor that they can't make excuses anymore. That is the great Dan Orlovsky. You can hear him on NFL Live every day, frequently on First Take. He's all over ESPN. Does some of the best video breakdown you'll ever see. You hear what Kyrie plans to do? 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Axe Max coming up. 'Twas the end of the year, and it's been less than fun. But as your business grows, you need to hire for 2021. Make hiring much faster, easier. Most would agree by going to ZipRecruiter.com/Max to try ZipRecruiter for free. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter say they get a quality candidate within the very first day. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter absolutely free at ZipRecruiter.com/Max. You see. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Max. Just to be clear, happy hiring to all, and to all a great new year. And at SiriusXM Channel 80 and on your smart speaker, what team has the pieces to actually land James Harden? We're going to ask Bobby Marks in a few minutes. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 729-3776. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30.
You got questions, and he's got answers.
So what am I going to do here?
This is Max Me Anything.
We have a lot of topics to get into. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. And I'm actually going to take
but you got a tweet. You got a tweet from my man Harold Boogie out in Brooklyn. He wants to know, what do you think about Kyrie and what he said to the media, or about the media, excuse me.
Yes. Well, listen, there's so much to get into. The Steelers get their, take their first L, right? Carson Wentz is benched officially, according to Peterson. It's Jalen Hurts. We got the Cowboys and the Ravens coming up. It's a lot to get into. And by the way, there's the Harden stuff and there's the LeBron and Kyrie stuff. Not only did Kyrie put out one of his kind of self-important, idiotic notes to the media as though he'd said something profound, but LeBron James has commented on what Kyrie said on the podcast during the second game 2 of the NBA Finals this year regarding LeBron James. LeBron James took it to heart. LeBron was like, yeah, it hurt my feelings a little bit. Kyrie saying he's finally on a team with someone he doesn't mind taking the last shot. Because LeBron's like, why? That's not me. Kyrie, he released a statement to the media. He's not going to be taking questions. Basically, he's going to, times are different, and so now he's going to do things a little differently. And here's a statement, and da 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 da. I'm going to get into that in a little while, Raj. There's too much to get into, but I'm going to go off a bit on Kyrie. He wants to set the agenda, the narrative, right? He wants to control it. Nah, man, you got to take questions. It's not about what you want to say. The media has questions that the fans want to know about. And LeBron has every reason to have his feelings hurt. Look at LeBron's relationships with the star players he's played with, the superstars. Dwayne Wade, they're like best friends now for decades. AD and LeBron are getting along great. Why is it Kyrie's the only dude with a problem? LeBron's like, I wanted him to be MVP of the league. What's he talking about me for? Kyrie's got to ask himself, is that related to the reason that every team he's ever been on gets better once he leaves? Think about that for a second. Every team he's ever been on. He leaves, they get better. Not the Cavs, because LeBron also left. The Celtics, the Nets, that shouldn't be possible. Kyrie's one of the best players ever. So why is that? Why doesn't it work with the team? He doesn't want to talk to the media. So you're going to leave that to Kevin Durant? Just coming off of a catastrophic injury in the media capital of the world? You're supposed to be a leader, but you pass that along to someone else. Marcus in Virginia, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm a big fan of your show, first-time caller. I have an excellent take on Carson Wentz in the situation.
Let's hear it. I'll be the judge of whether it's an excellent take. Let me hear it.
I know, right? I believe, first of all, somewhat in astrology. And I was listening to Get Up this morning, and Rex Ryan made an interesting comment about Carson Wentz. He said that his sources tell him that Wentz is a know-it-all in the locker room. Now, we all know that
By the way, as I said, Joe Santaloquido has been touching on this for a couple of years. A couple of years ago, he came out with an article about this. Not just a know-it-all, but really throws his weight around. I don't know what the stars say about that. If Jupiter's aligned with Mars, what your astrology tells you. But sources tell me that Wentz is not as well liked as, say, Nick Foles was in that locker room. Raj started me talking about Kyrie Irving. I got to one call. 888-SAY-ESPN. I'm taking calls in the next block, Raj. Harden lists a new team he'd like to maybe be traded to. That was news from Max Kellerman Nation. Marcus hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call-in line. Coming right up, we get to your calls, and we get into all NBA and NFL action. Max.
This is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. Is Josh Allen an elite QB? Talk about that in a minute. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We're the Steelers nowadays in people's minds in terms of the power rankings. Power rankings. Steelers were undefeated in Week 13. I know, but they played 10 games, but still.
I got to give you credit, Max. You were the only one who, with the power rankings, didn't have them at number one just because they were undefeated. Everyone just put them just because they were undefeated. Had them. You never gave in. You kept.
I had the Chiefs number one all season, even when they didn't look great early. But look, there's so much to get into right now. We got to get. I said I was going to take calls to 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. James Harden didn't report to training camp yesterday because of the NBA's COVID-19 protocols. Harden posted pictures, however, on Instagram over the weekend celebrating Lil Baby's birthday party without a face mask. You see what Harden's doing. Harden's turning himself into a distressed asset for the Houston Rockets. That diminishes his trade value, making it easier to deal him, in fact, to where he wants to go. See, when the rest of the league knows, he wants to go to Brooklyn, they're not going to come with their best offer. And they know, everyone knows, the Rockets aren't going to be able to keep him. You can't keep a disgruntled superstar. It doesn't work. Here's Stephen Silas, the Rockets' new head coach, on Harden's absence.
As far as timetable, there is no timetable as far as I know. And it is a setback. You know, you want your best player to be here. There is a short window, as you've alluded to. As I said yesterday, we're working as if this is the 6th to the 23rd. So there is some time, but it is a setback. You have to be honest and understand that this is a setback, not having one of the best players in the NBA here.
Say that again. The Rockets set back from what? Are they a playoff team this year? If the Harden's on the team, I guess, kind of barely. The Rockets have never been an overly talented team. They did it playing the most efficient basketball possible with a superstar on the team. That's why Harden was able to turn that team into a powerhouse. He's a superstar, and they played the most efficient, aesthetically not the most pleasing, but the most efficient offense. You could, only the highest percentage shots or the shots with the greatest reward. It's the only shots they would take. They ain't doing anything like that anymore. They're toast, and Harden's got to get out of there. He's got to leave, and that's what's going on right now. He's making it harder. You'd say, well, it's making it harder for Houston to trade him. Yeah, he's making it harder for them to trade him, which depresses his value, which makes it easier for them to trade him to the place he wants to go. Well, why would they do that? Why would they accommodate him if he's hurting them? Because what team is going to trade a whole bunch of stuff for James Harden knowing he doesn't want to be there? No. The NBA is a superstar league. The superstars call the shots, period. And LeBron James has shown that. Not that Harden's LeBron, but he is a superstar. Dom in Washington, D.C., you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio. Well, Dom in Washington, D.C. is not there. I wanted to talk to someone from Washington, D.C. because the D.C. football team, the Washington franchise, I've been telling you, has been coming on in recent weeks and was a trap game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought maybe the Steelers would avoid the trap because they just played the Ravens and won but looked terrible, and Coach Tomlin called them out after the game. And I thought, okay, they're not going to be able to rest on their laurels. They're going to have to take, but, look, 4 days rest, 13 days, 3 games. They had a 14-point lead. They're practically undefeated in like 112 games with a 2-touchdown lead in the Roethlisberger era. They were very likely to win the game, but they didn't. They couldn't maintain for the entire, they faded late, and Alex Smith made a play, and they lost. And Pittsburgh is a very good team. They need to run block better, but they're a very good team. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. We're going to get to that in a second. Bobby Marks joins me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line right now. Bobby,
I am.
Are you there?
Max, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? I have you on because I want to know. James Harden has now said, okay, fine, maybe I don't just have to be traded to the Brooklyn Nets. So everyone's thinking Philadelphia immediately. Who do you think has the best chance to trade for him based on their assets, their contracts, and what's attractive to the Houston Rockets?
I think if you're checking the 3 boxes that Houston is looking for, cornerstone young building block, Ben Simmons, a young player on a controllable rookie contract, Matisse Thybulle, and draft picks, which the Sixers have, for the next couple of years. They they check the boxes right now. So now I guess if the willing is Philadelphia willing to do something with James Harden, or because it would have to be certainly Ben Simmons here. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. If I'm the Sixers, I think I want to let's play this out a little bit from their perspective. You've seen the rave reviews coming out of that Sixers camp about Ben Simmons. I don't know if that's just done on purpose, that Harden is now involved in trade talks here. But, yeah, I mean, I think the Sixers would probably be the leaders in the clubhouse just based on what they have to offer. I think it's an interesting team, Max, and I have it up there today. Some teams, trade partners would be Boston. Certainly that.
What does Boston have to offer that could land Harden?
I don't know if Jaylen Brown is enough. I don't think just by himself is certainly not enough. He's under contract for the next 4 years. I think he's probably a borderline all-star. I don't think he's a franchise cornerstone there, but you've got Jaylen Brown. You've got basically 5 or 6 players that are on, rookie contracts. You've got all your draft picks here. I would probably put them a little bit of ahead of the line compared to maybe where Brooklyn is right now with, certainly know about Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, draft picks there. But I think Philadelphia, I think Boston, certainly Brooklyn probably in a distant third. But it's hard. These superstars, that when you're never going to get the same amount, at least right now, as far as what you're giving up.
Bobby, thank you very much. That's what I need to know. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon. That's Bobby Marks, ladies and gentlemen, at BobbyMarks42 on Twitter. Now, I disagree with the analysis about Boston. I don't think Boston has anything where they could even sniff a James Harden trade. I like Jaylen Brown. He's a very nice player. But you can't have a borderline all-star as a centerpiece for a trade to James Harden. I've always thought that a 3-team deal, or maybe more than even a 3-team deal, could maybe work. The question is Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie enough to get enough stuff to be attractive to Philadelphia to pry Ben Simmons away and then make the deal for Ben Simmons at James Harden? In other words, does Daryl Morey believe that maybe he likes LeVert, for example, and he thinks, okay, Embiid with LeVert or likes Dinwiddie and the other one can be flipped into other stuff he likes? But I think that's unlikely too. I think the most likely scenario is Ben Simmons for James Harden, or Ben Simmons and a few things for James Harden, because that's the only way Houston maintains possession of a difference-making kind of ball player. There aren't that many guys like that around. Ben Simmons is one of them. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Josh Allen put on a show last night. Is he a top-tier quarterback? See, when you say top tier, let me put it a different way. Is Ben Roethlisberger an elite quarterback? Is he elite? Raj, you think Ben Roethlisberger's elite? He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's having a nice season.
He's never had one MVP vote, so I'm going to say no.
Well, I would say, I disagree. I think Ben Roethlisberger has been an elite quarterback. He's spent most of his career as a top 5 quarterback in the league. That's elite to me. I don't think it's a random number like, are you top 5? If you're 6, no good. But usually there's a cutoff. And generally throughout Roethlisberger's career, early on it was Brady and Peyton Manning and Rodgers and Breeze, right? And Roethlisberger was not in that category, but he probably led the pack underneath him, or maybe he was the 5th guy in that category. And then, certain guys got older, Peyton left, and then Roethlisberger's like, oh, he's the top 4 quarterback, something like that. Who'd you rather have, Breeze or Roethlisberger in a great season for Roethlisberger, right? And usually the answer is Breeze. But he was there, and he's pretty good this year. But is he elite? You think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the AFC? I don't. Is Lamar Jackson an elite quarterback? He won the MVP last year, right? You'd think that would make him elite, but he hasn't been good in the playoffs. Lost 2 playoff games, and right now doesn't look like much. Has the league adjusted to him? Is he suffering from COVID? I don't know. But would you call Lamar Jackson an elite quarterback right now? I would not. So who's elite? Who are the elite quarterbacks? Is Matt Ryan an elite quarterback? No. People pretended he was for a little while. He never really was. Not really. He was a very good quarterback. He's a B-plus quarterback. Matt Stafford, never really been elite. But look at the numbers he put on. If you put him on another team, no, not really. Josh Allen's 24 years old. Like the whole question with these young mobile quarterbacks, the big arm quarterbacks, is will they be accurate down the field? You're mobile, you got a big arm, but can you throw it down the field accurately? Can you read defenses, get rid of the ball quickly? Make the right reads, trust what you see, get rid of the ball accurately. As a rookie, Josh Allen at 22 had about a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. For every touchdown he threw an interception. 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. About 1-to-1. He completed around 50% of his passes, and his team was no good. Now, the second year is where quarterbacks really develop, as it turns out, and you want them to be great on their rookie deal because you have more money to spend at other positions, right? That's your Super Bowl window, a lot of people think. Well, in his second season, did you see improvement? Oh, yeah. He went from a 50% completion guy to a 60% completion guy. That's nice. He went from a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio guy to a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio guy. Good. That's good. That's real improvement. And, importantly, his team was 10-6. He quarterbacked a winning team. And now his third year, he's 24. Has he improved? Oh, yeah. He went from a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio guy last year to a 3-to-1 this year. A 60% last year to a 70% this year. So every year of his career, the ratio touchdowns to interception improves by 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1. The completion percentage improves by 10%, 50%, 60%, 70%. And now he's a top 5 QBR guy in the entire NFL among active quarterbacks. Dak hasn't been active for most of the season. So a lot of, and by the way, his team has a better win-loss percentage than last season. They're heading for the playoffs, and they look like they can do some damage in the playoffs. He's 24 years old. All of 2019, it's up on ESPN Plus. You can see it, 3,100 yards, give or take. I round, it's 3,089. It's 3,100. 59%, I call it 60%, right? 60% completion, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, passer rating of 85, 3,100 yards. This year already, and the season's not over, 70% completion, 3,400 yards already, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, better than 3-to-1, and a passer rating of 106. It's 105.9, 106. So the question is at 24, is he likely to get better? Is he having the kind of progress that's sustainable? Yeah. He's not just doing this on a scheme in a system where they scheme up a way for him to like run or something like that, right? Because there was legitimate questions about Lamar Jackson. The passing's getting better, but they're heavily reliant on him running. Or Mitch Trubisky, same thing. Boy, he's fast, but he's not really accurate down the field. Josh Allen's accurate down the field. Really accurate down the field. How many 20-plus yard passes did he have last night? 375 yards, 4 touchdowns? Given his age, given the trajectory of his career, given the team he's on, he's likely to sustain this. So has he proven it yet? And can he be elite and then kind of drop out of that? Yeah. But you're asking me right now, is Josh Allen an elite quarterback? The answer is yes. I think he's the third best quarterback in the conference. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen in that order. And had it not been for the last month of Deshaun Watson, I'd have Josh Allen second, but Deshaun Watson has also been great the last month and has consistently quarterbacked winning teams, and the teams weren't that good. Deshaun Watson made them good. Yeah, Josh Allen's an elite QB, and by the way, that makes the Bills live in the playoffs. Not just last year, like good defense, Josh Allen is trending the right way. No. Now you got that defense, and you have a quarterback who can really do damage. I said before the season, why is everyone so high on the Bills? Anything Josh Allen could do, Cam Newton could do better. Wrong. No, he can't. Josh Allen's way better than Cam Newton right now. He's better than, I think, everyone except for Mahomes and Watson in the AFC. And in the NFC even, how many guys you have? Aaron Rodgers. Who else? Russell Wilson. How many? Drew Brees still at his age? Let's see how he looks after the ribs. Is Josh Allen a top 5 quarterback right now? Maybe. And that makes the Bills, look, when you talk about AFC teams with a chance to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, I like the Chiefs against the entire field. To me, it feels like the Chiefs play cat and mouse with teams, right? Like Like the idea that, they've beaten certain teams. Was it the Panthers by 2 points, by under a field goal? They beat the Bucs. It turned out to be by a field goal. They had to come back on the Chargers and beat them by like a field goal earlier in the season. And earlier in the season, they were down early. They had to make comebacks. And later in the season against the Bucs, they have a big lead early and they let the Bucs back into the game. It feels like they're toying with teams to me, the Chiefs. It feels like they're bored, but, like they just – even last year in the playoffs, down double digits in 3 consecutive playoff games, keep coming back. They got it like that. But if you had to pick an AFC team right now to beat the Chiefs, who would you pick? Because I take the Bills. I think they got the best shot. And a lot of it has to do with their quarterback, who not maybe coincidentally can match up with Mahomes in terms of the kind of size of his arm, the kind of arm strength. He could throw that ball down the field. The Titans, you believe in the Titans against the Chiefs? Seen that movie before. The Browns, they look great against the Titans. The Browns can run the ball, that's true. I like the Bills against the Browns all day. I think Josh Allen's clearly a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. I like the Dolphins a lot. I like Miami a lot. I like the way the defense gets after it. But the Colts, to me, are like the Titans, and you heard from Warren Sharp Analytics, or no, that was Casey Joyner, talking about the football scientist, last week on this show, on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio, talk about how teams from weaker divisions tend to not do well in the playoffs. Titans, Colts. I like the Bills a whole lot, especially when you see the Steelers and the way they run block. 14 carries, 21 yards. Now, I don't want to overreact to the Steelers losing to Washington, because I thought that was going to be a very tough game. 4 days rest, 3 games in 13 days. That is brutal. And so maybe predictably they faded late, right? Physically, it's a game of attrition, and they faded late. So I don't want to read too much into it, but there are certain causes for concern. Pittsburgh barely beat Dallas. They barely beat a Ravens team without their quarterback. And the Dallas game came before this 3 games in 13 days schedule. But look, every team in the NFL struggles against Dallas. Right around that time, beat the Vikings, who had just cleaned out the NFC North. Beat the Packers, the Bears, and the Lions, right? And Vikings flying high, and, Dallas beat them. So it can happen. I don't want to overreact to what I saw with the Steelers. But the fact of the matter is, who do I think has the best chance at this moment? The team with the best quarterback. Josh Allen's better than Ben Roethlisberger. Right now, he's better. And given that one guy's 38 and one guy's 24, that one guy is on the other side of his prime and the other guy's still ascending, who's likely to be better going forward? It's Josh Allen. LeBron finally responded to Kyrie. Hear what he had to say. Plus, Fall Finebaum. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Take a listen to what LeBron James had to say about Kyrie Irving's comments on clutchness, on LeBron's clutchness from a while back. LeBron finally actually read the transcript and now is reacting to what Kyrie said. Listen to LeBron.
So when I heard the comment that Kyrie made, I wanted to, not only find the whole transcript, but also call my people. Yeah. Send me the whole transcript. And I heard he had did it on Katie's podcast. And I was a little like damn. Yeah. Once I got the whole transcript, I was like, damn. I wasn't like, oh, you tripping, I've hit game-winning shots my whole life. I was not like that. I was like, damn, because you were there for a couple seasons. I played with Kyrie for 3 seasons. The whole time while I was there, I only wanted to see him be an MVP of our league. I only cared about his success, and it just didn't align. Yeah. It just didn't align, and we was able to win a championship. Yeah. That's the craziest thing. We were still able to win a championship, and we could never align, but I only cared about his well-being, both on and off the floor, and it kind of hurt me a little bit. Not only win a championship, but they won a championship against the 73-win Warriors.
And Kyrie was instrumental. It was the only really successful season of his career, right? He got all the way, won the whole thing. Kyrie was the second best player on the team behind LeBron and ahead of Kevin Love. That was the Road Trippin' podcast, by the way, that you just heard. The sound from LeBron on. Kyrie has to ask himself, Kyrie, why every team that you've ever been on, with the exception of the team you were on with LeBron James, why have they been better off without you? Doesn't that sound ridiculous? Kyrie's got the greatest handles of all time. He's one of the all-time great shooters, even, considering that's not the first thing you think about with Kyrie, right? Like, he can bomb from outside. He is the best I've ever seen finishing in the paint under the rim. He is a great passer. Like, what doesn't he do on the basketball court? So he has all the skills. Like, and there are other guys who are super skilled, but whose talent is as pitched as high as Kyrie, who also has developed those kind of skills. Skills and talent used interchangeably, incorrectly sometimes. Talent is your natural aptitude to do something. Skills are the refined technique that you have. He has both. Good as it can get. Why are teams getting better? Why were the Celtics better without you? Why were the Nets better without you? It's nuts. It's crazy. Now you take LeBron James, a guy who's been under more scrutiny with more pressure than anyone ever, basically, right? Since he's a high school kid, you're going to be the greatest player ever. Everyone telling him how great he is all the time. And yet he's surprisingly down to earth considering that. I'm sure Kyrie has legitimate gripes with LeBron, the way he was treated or whatever. I'm sure LeBron could be self-centered and everything. As I said, if everyone tells you you're the greatest thing ever since you're a kid, you're going to believe it. And by the way, he is. LeBron's amazing. He's the best I've seen except for Jordan. And he's, speaking truth to power and standing up for social issues. And LeBron James is a guy also who brought people he knew from his childhood, basically, into adulthood and into success, not by giving them handouts, but by offering opportunities. And those who took advantage of them are with LeBron to this day. And people he met along the way, like Rich Paul, for example, right? Why is Kyrie Irving the dude with beef with LeBron? What's going on with this dude? LeBron had two other superstars with him, two other second-best players on his team with him, and he won two other championships in two other cities other than Cleveland. One was Miami with Dwayne Wade. LeBron and Dwayne Wade have been best friends for decades now. The other is Los Angeles with Anthony Davis. AD and LeBron seem to be having a great time together, only seem to support each other. What's up with Kyrie? What is up with Kyrie? Why is there a problem with him? At a certain point, you got to look and say, okay, it's me. It's not everyone else. Here's Kyrie. Sometimes I could be the head coach. Sometimes, no, Kyrie. No, you're not the head coach. It's a stupid thing to say. You can't be. And here's the thing. I keep hearing everyone tell me how smart Kyrie is. Stephen A. tells me how articulate he is. I find him inarticulate. He may be smart, but he doesn't show it. And someone who thinks the earth is flat, it's highly likely they're not smart. He seems insecure about his intelligence. Kyrie always wants to tell you how smart he is, but doesn't show it. Listen to the statement he released. Instead of speaking to the media today, I'm issuing this statement to ensure that my message is conveyed properly. So he doesn't speak to the media. He just releases a statement. No, Kyrie, it's not the way it works. I know you'd like to just release a statement because then you can set the agenda and the narrative. Control the narrative is the big buzzword. But buzz phrase. But no, the media has questions for you. You got to answer those questions. They're a conduit to the fans. One of the reasons you get paid. And so you don't get to just control the narrative the way you'd like. I'm committed to show up to work every day, ready to have fun, compete, perform, and win championships alongside my teammates and colleagues in the Nets organization. My goal this season is to let my work on and off the court speak for itself. Life hit differently this year, and it requires me to move differently. So this is the beginning of that change. The hell does that mean? If he's articulate, he doesn't show it in his writing. But apparently, he's too scared to actually make, so let me get this straight. You want to make sure that you're properly understood, right? He said, I am issuing this statement to ensure that my message is conveyed properly. Are you afraid you can't convey your message properly, extemporaneously? Off the cuff? You can't respond to questions where you don't get to say to talk about exactly the things you want to talk about, but you have to discuss topics other people are also interested in concerning you and your team. You don't think you can do that well? I don't blame you. You don't seem to be able to do it well. But you also don't seem to be able to be very clear in your writing either. Or is it you're saying that I have to convey this properly without a medium? The medium distorts the message because people like Stephen A. Smith or Max Kellerman or whoever are going to distort the message. Kyrie, if we had malice, which we don't toward you or really anyone, I mean, who we're covering, we would like you to be communicative. I'd like you not to say things like the earth is flat. I think that's destructive and it's a stupid thing to say. But I love watching you play. I'm not rooting for you to put your foot in your mouth. I'm rooting for you to be articulate. But you can use ellipses and take things out. For example, when I read this, I didn't start with your first paragraph. COVID-19 has impacted us all in many ways, so I pray for the safety and health of our communities domestically and abroad. I'm truly excited for the season to start. I'm also praying that everyone remains safe and healthy throughout this journey. I didn't read that in the beginning, right? To make a point. Your message can still be distorted and taken out of context if you release a statement, so it's not about that. It's disingenuous in addition to everything else. Your point is not that this way people can't distort my message because it will still be seen through the prism of the media, through a medium, through the opinions of me and others, right? It will still be digested that way and pre-digested before it's digested by the public. So this doesn't actually do the thing you think it does. Kyrie is very intent on telling you how smart he is, and other people have told me how articulate. I find that neither is the case. It's not impossible that it is the case, that is the truth, but he does not demonstrate it. And the reason is always ego protection. Why does he have a problem with LeBron? It's an ego problem. Why does he say sometimes he's the head coach because Steve Nash is not the boss of me? It's an ego problem. Why does he say, KD, it's the first time that I'm okay with another dude taking the last shot? It's ego protection. Of course, KD can shoot like Kyrie, but he's 7 feet tall. And KD helped you with the juice here with Brooklyn, right? Brooklyn wasn't interested in Kyrie unless he came with KD. So you got to defer to KD a little bit there. But you still take a shot at LeBron. And here, life hit differently this year, and it requires us. It requires me to move differently. So this is the beginning of that change. So wait, you put this out for clarity, but then you make an ambiguous, strange comment open to interpretation? Kyrie, you are a special player. You ain't that special. There are other dudes in the league better than you. The league is not about you. This segment is about you because you give the media fodder. Dude, put your head down. By the way, speak out against social injustice. That's cool. I disagree with Stephen A. when he's like, Kyrie said the season shouldn't be played and everything. I like the fact that you spoke out. Not just critical of anything you do. I'm critical of the stupid things you do, like this statement. Michigan versus Ohio State was canceled. You're going to hear from Paul Finebaum on Last Take coming up. 'Twas the end of the year, and it's been less than fun. But as your business grows, you need to hire for 2021. Make hiring much faster and easier, most would agree, by going to ZipRecruiter.com/max to try ZipRecruiter for free. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter say they get a quality candidate within the very first day. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter absolutely free at ZipRecruiter.com/max. Radio ESPN News, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker, you can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
You heard First Take?
At least it's good to hear your voice finally, because I know on First Take I only hear you on the intro and outro.
Now hear Max's Last Take.
Here's Paul Finebaum on whether or not they're going to give Ohio State another game after the Michigan game was canceled.
I think they will. If they don't, they're really cutting their own throat. Remember, this is a league that on August 11th shut down, then they came back and really left themselves no wiggle room. It's important to remember on December 19th, when the Big Ten championship game is going to be held, the rest of the league is going to be playing that day. So all they need to do is rearrange some things. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah, it is weird that a big rivalry game is just gone, but this is COVID. I mean, by the way, want to hear something crazy? Pfizer, the drug manufacturer, who's one of the 2 approved to manufacture the vaccines in this country, the COVID vaccine. You need 2 COVID shots to be inoculated, right? So 100 million doses gets 50 million shots. The population of this country is 330 million. You need 70 to 75% inoculated in order for things to get back to normal. Okay, so that's about 250 million doses, right? 250 million doses. Pfizer is delivering 100 million to the United States, offered the U.S. government, the Trump administration, an additional 100 million vaccinations, and they were turned down. So 200 million shots would have been 100 million people vaccinated. Out of the 250 necessary, we're 40% of the way to getting back to normal right away. But the government turned them down. Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Frank in Florida, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
Hey, Max, how you doing, man? Hey, I was just wondering, do you think the Giants and the Washington football team, are they any good? Or is it like just Eagles and Cowboys, how bad they are?
No, I actually think the Giants and Washington are trending in the right direction. They are pretty good. Look, they have sub-500 records, but the team you are at the end of the year is not the same team as in the beginning. It's a full-contact sport with different players developing and chemistry developing. I think a win over the Giants or the Washington franchise is a quality win, and they're capable of upsetting winning teams, as you've seen recently. Giants beating Seattle, Washington beating a tired Pittsburgh team. Wheezy in Pennsylvania, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
Max Kellerman, a brilliant mind, in my opinion. Just to touch on what you were just saying about Kyrie Irving. What does he do on the floor? Nothing. What doesn't he do, you said? He doesn't play defense. He doesn't create camaraderie. And in my opinion, he causes problems. He's Kyrie hurting. And just to touch on
Kyrie hurting
the locker room.
Chris in New Jersey, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
Hey, Max, I'm going. I want to go back to a while back on the show. You said that Josh Allen was elite, which I agree with. I'm as big as a Josh Allen fan.
You got 30 seconds.
But I noticed you said Matt Ryan wasn't elite, and I want to know why. He's been to a Super Bowl, and you brought up the completion percentage and how Josh Allen got better in the first 3 years. And I believe you look at Matt Ryan's in the first 3 years, it didn't get any better, but it stayed at like 60, high 50s.
Look, Matt Ryan was always very, very good. I never thought he was a top 3 quarterback in the conference. I think Josh Allen is right now. He's a top 3 quarterback in his conference. And I would take his future over Matt Ryan's past. Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio. Ravens better not lose 4 straight versus the Cowboys tonight. See you tomorrow.
I'm Pablo Torre, host of the podcast.